Hi there, welcome to MTurk Guide. What I'd like to go over today is the various ways that you can contact a requester. I think this is important sort of baseline information for everybody who's using the system to have. And the reasons why you might want to contact a requester would be to get clarification on hit instructions. Sometimes, you write something or the requester writes something, and to them it's, clear and obvious what they're looking for, but things can be gray and can be interpreted various ways. So you certainly, if the timer allows, to make an attempt to get clarification on hit instructions is always a good idea. If the survey is broken, the link to the survey itself, there's no code at the end, or you're unable to complete hits for some reason, usually, even if you don't end up being able to do it, I try to throw the requester a message and let them know what's going on so they can rectify it for the next people. Although MTurk itself does have the ability to report hits that are broken, I really find it much more effective to reach out to the requester directly. I don't really find that MTurk does a lot in some of those cases. So definitely, a good idea to reach out if possible. As a side note, if you don't get a code at the end of a survey, some requesters will allow you to put your MTurk ID in and then submit. I'm not saying that's going to work all the time, but some do allow you to do that. So you kind of got to decide if it's worth the risk, to get a potential rejection for the wrong survey code. So absolutely, something to think about there. But if you have enough timer left to send a message to the requester, you should definitely do so. That way, at least they'll have a record of you reaching out. If you want to notify the requester of typos or unclear instructions, as I said before, sometimes on the surveys, the requesters will have a box at the end that says, tell us what you thought of this, or, did you notice anything strange? You can certainly use those boxes as well, but some requesters don't have those in their surveys. So another reason why you might want to reach out. An important reason that I find to reach out is to request feedback on a rejection. I've gotten rejections. We've been over this, and even if I'm fairly confident of why I received the rejection, I always contact the requester, ask for the specific hit that I got wrong, and just for any clarification, so that, and I just phrase it in a way that says, I want to make sure that I don't make the mistake again. I want to improve on future hits that I do for you. Things like that. I think it just reflects well on us as workers. And sometimes you never know, if you are kind of on the fence about why you might have gotten it. A requester may look at it a second time, or they may look at the first time because it was automatically rejected for some reason, and then they may look at it and say, "Oh, okay, this makes sense. This should have been approved," or something of that nature. So I've heard that happening with, I think P9R is a good example. A lot of times they have an automated system in place that's not perfect, and so I've heard of them reversing rejections in the past. So definitely always ask for that feedback, because you never know what could happen when the requester looks at it again. Again, to dispute a rejection, if you feel that the rejection was not appropriate, you can certainly put your grievances professionally into writing, through the contact system. To understand the assignment or revocation of a qualification, I'm going to go into this in depth in a future tutorial, but a lot of requesters correctly use qualifications to prevent workers from doing hits. So for example, if a requester has a survey and they don't want, typically a survey is a one and done type thing, because they don't want duplicate data. And so they'll assign a qualification that says, took survey A123. This is the preferred method for them to screen you out of that survey, rather than using a block. Blocks are negative on your account. So some requesters don't know the difference, but I'll get into that in a future tutorial, hopefully in the next couple of days. But if you got it, email, usually it comes in an email about an assignment or revocation of a qualification, and you're not sure what it means, you can certainly ask me and I'll try to help you. And if not, you can ask the requester. Don't assume always, though, that the revocation of a qualification is a bad thing. In the example that I just talked about, the revocation of the qualification could potentially open it up for you to actually be able to do another survey for that requester, in the near future. So don't always assume when you see revocation that it's negative. It's, in this case, it actually might be opening up opportunities for you. So think about that before you react to any emails you get about qualification. Another reason to reach out would be to understand the requester's process for assigning qualifications. Some requesters have tests, some have some sort of secret sauce that you're using. We don't know sometimes. So it doesn't hurt to ask. Not all requesters will reply and not all will go into depth about their process, but it's worth asking, especially if you're super duper interested in a particular hit or a particular set of hits. To find out if more hits will be coming. If you captured a few hits and you really liked them and they were approved, you can always contact the requester and say, hey, I'm definitely interested in doing your hits in the future. Do you do them on the schedule, or do you know when you're going to drop your next batch? Doesn't hurt. Just like in the real quote unquote professional world, you want to make a good impression. So if you like a requester and you like their hits, drop them a note. They may not get back to you, but if they do and they tell you when they're going to drop the next batch, it's great heads up information for you to have. So it's worth a couple minutes it would take to shoot off a note. And believe it or not, to find out if there's private or off MTurk projects that are occurring, there's not, anything out there that says once you're on MTurk, you always have to be on MTurk. I've had a few instances where I had been contacted, or I had contacted a requester, or a requester had contacted me about off MTurk projects where I was doing work. There was one, it was bounding boxes. I did a whole bunch of work for them and they just paid me through the MTurk bonus system. So it was a win-win. It occupied some of my time. I got some extra cash and they got their project done. And basically they picked people who did well on the original set of hits that they had put out, and they needed a rush order on this other set. So it ended up being a good thing, but again, you never know. Actually, just recently, a quick piece of information: there was actually a requester, named Adult Net Hits. They, I'm not exaggerating, had people tagging and labeling pictures of pornography. And again, I've talked about the adult content qualification, and this was an example where you were getting what you bargained for with that one. It was definitely pornography, but some will not want to do it, and others will say money is money, and I will label it till the cows come home. To each their own. I'm not going to say whether somebody should or shouldn't. I don't really care. But the moral of the story is actually they got kicked off of MTurk in the last couple of weeks. They sent out an email to people who had done their hits saying that MTurk had kicked them off, and they weren't going to be able to come back on, and that they were going to be taking all that work offline, and they were looking for workers to do that work offline. So again, if that's something that interests you and you want to do it, in the future, then definitely shoot them a message and just ask, or just say, if you in the future have private work, either off of MTurk or qual-based, I'd certainly be interested in, applying for it or taking qualification tests, whatever, however you want to word it. And then my last one was to say hi. Kidding, sort of. Again, it is work. And so if you do appreciate a specific requester for some reason, here and there, shoot them a note and let them know. Or if you like the way they set up a survey, or you like how intuitive their hits are, or how clear their instructions are, let them know. It doesn't hurt. Requesters are human too. And so, shooting them a note doesn't hurt. And again, same goes for in the surveys. If at the end they say, do you want to say anything? Say have a nice day, or thanks for the interesting survey, or whatever. I kind of made that last bullet tongue in cheek, but consider it. You never know. All right. So now I'm going to teach you how to contact the requesters and all the cases before I talked about, or if there were other cases I didn't bring up, but absolutely there are a bunch of different ways. So for hits that you've completed less than 45 days ago and you have hit database, which I think you've seen the output of. So if you do have hit database, or even if you don't really, in this case, it's because it's 45 days, it'll be on your dashboard. But what you would do is you would find the day that the hit was completed on your dashboard. So I'm using the 22nd of October as the example. You click on that, and then you would scroll through this 25 hits per page, and you find the hit or the requester that you're looking for. And when you click on their name, you'll see on the lower right-hand corner here, a box will pop up and it says regarding, the subject's pre-filled in, it says regarding Amazon Mechanical Turk, hit, blah, blah, blah. And then you can put in up to 1,024 characters and you hit submit. And when it goes to the requester, when they reply to you, it will go to your inbox, your email inbox of the email that you used to sign up for MTurk. So if you used a kind of a not your primary email, make sure that you're checking that other secondary email if you've reached out to a requester, because I've seen people think that they didn't get an answer and they did, they just hadn't checked their email or whatever. So in that case, if you know which day you did that particular hit or you worked for that requester and you can go back and click, you can go ahead and do it that way. For me, that usually is about, 3 or 4 days of my memory bank. Beyond that, I can't really remember what I did what day. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast every day. So for this method doesn't work quite as well for me on the long term. On the short term, it's pretty good, but there are other ways to do it too. So another way is if there are hits currently available in the system for that requester, you can, whether you're qualified for them or not, you can go and find them in the hits all hits or the hits available to you. And if you click on the title, so in this case, on the top one, it says input specific values displayed in the image right here, and then transcribe data, one of which I'm not qualified for on the top, as you see, and one I am on the bottom, I am qualified. So if you just click on that title, click down on the lower right-hand corner, there'll be a link for contact the requester of this hit. You click either one of those, and that same box will come up with the subject line pre-filled in for you. Okay, and that's, again, another way to go about it. If for some reason you're not seeing these links that contact the requester links, then you're going to need to go ahead and put this script up, load it up and turn it on. I think mostly, for the most part, this works now without the use of the script, because it's working for me without the script even loaded right now. But just in case you do have that, I'm gonna put the link to the script in the description so that you can grab it if you need to. But again, after you click the contact the requester of this hit, the process is the same as you previously saw. So there's nothing different. I didn't screen cap it this time because I think at this point you know what the box looks like. You get 1,024 characters, pre-filled in subject line, goes to your email inbox. Make sure you're checking your email. Okay. All right. So that's for where hits are available in the system. Okay. Then there's when there's hits in your queue. So this is the example that I talked about where you're doing a survey or you're working on a hit and you're stumped by something. It's not working. It's not clear. You run across that like 1 in a million where the instructions don't apply. You don't feel comfortable proceeding and you have enough time on your timer to reach out to the requester. So what you would do is you would go into your hits assigned to you queue. And here I grabbed one just to show you. You would go ahead again and click on your title. In this case, it's for 411 Richmond. I would click fix mistakes in the transcription. Once I clicked on that, I would see my contact the requester of this hit in the lower right-hand corner. Go ahead and click that. Again, same thing's going to happen. You're going to get your box, 1,024 characters, pre-filled in subject, submit. When the requester does reply, if they reply, it'll go to your email inbox. And at that point, you'll go back and forth over email in the email inbox with the requester. So again, that's if you currently are in ownership of a hit and you want to reach out to the requester. Okay, so that one's pretty easy. So those ones are all pretty simple. They're all for different those ones are basically for if the requester is out there, like floating around somewhere, either in your past hits or in your current hits that you have accepted, or just out there in the system. But sometimes, let's say, for example, you did a hit over 45 days ago, so it's not in your dashboard anymore. Or you want to reach out to a requester because you heard me say, oh, I love this requester, and you want to understand how you might be able to work for them, or if they're going to put any more hits up, right? So, but you have no experience with this requester, okay? So what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to use this alternate method. And what you're going to do is find the requester ID. And there are two ways you can go about doing that. You can either go into MTurk and, like in this case, let's say, because I said, the hits aren't out there, let's pretend the hit you're interested in working on isn't out there, but the requester is. Okay, so you're interested in working on, Zoltar 12-cent hits, but the only thing that's up is 6-cent hits, which wouldn't really happen, but just as an example. So what you would do is you would go into the project and/or Zoltar, and you would click on the name, and just as I showed right here, okay, click on that name, and then what happens is that's a drill down filter, and then all of the hits or hit categories for that requester will show up on the screen. And what you'll do at that point is you'll see that it says up here, it says hits created by crowd reminder. So now you know you're in that drill down. What you're going to do is you look up in your URL bar, and you're going to see it says hit groups and requester ID equals. You see AF2N0YJJ856KU. Okay, so that's the requester ID. So what you'd want to do is just grab that ID. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is, now let's say the situation is you want to work for a requester, the requester has no hits up, none at all. You cannot contact them through the MTurk interface. So what you're going to have to do is, in this case, you absolutely have to have the correct requester name. What you're going to do is you're going to navigate over to Turkopticon, to TO, to the actual website. So I'll put it in the description, but it's turkopticon.uscd.edu or something. And what you're going to do is you're going to search for that requester just in the top line. And when you get your return, you're going to look and make sure that you got the right one. And in this case, I knew that I was looking for crowd reminder with no space in the middle. So I found it. And right underneath on the within the ratings is the requester ID right underneath. So you go ahead and you're going to copy that. And so now you've gotten your requester ID one of two ways. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take this URL that I provided here, and I'm going to put that in the description, and where it says requester ID equals, you're going to add that requester ID onto the end, and then you're going to copy the whole thing, the whole complete URL, and pop it into your browser. And what's going to happen is you're going to get the same box with the submit button, your 1024 characters, and you're going to be able to proceed from there. So that's basically numerous ways, depending on your situation, of how to go ahead and get your message to your requester. So as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Definitely subscribe, like, comment, let me know how your turking adventure is going. As always, I appreciate you joining me, and I'll be back with more videos as soon as possible. Thanks, everybody.